being here in our annual Hispanic Working Women event. I am Fernanda Estrada, Marketing and Program Manager with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and I am so happy to greet you all tonight. Please scan the QR code to follow our social media, and if you take any photo or video, don't forget to tag us and use the hashtag HWW2022. And now I would like to introduce a video for our President and CEO, Eduardo Platon.
Hi everybody, my name is Eduardo Platon. I'm the President and CEO of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Metropolitan St. Louis. Thank you so much for being here. I couldn't be here today, but I could not miss the opportunity to reach you and welcome you in this special event. We have a special topic, Leading with Purpose, and three amazing speakers. Emiliana Guerreca, Molivia, and Rebecca Garcia Cook. Leaders, Latina leaders, women that are really making a difference in our community. I hope you can enjoy this conference, share with your family, friends, and co-workers, and come back again next year.
So this is the best looking audience I have seen in 2 years. Thank you so much. I am so pleased to be here with you. Bienvenido. I mean, I don't know about you, I haven't been in a big group of women since the start of the pandemic, you know? I've seen lots of you on what I call Hollywood Squares, and I didn't like it so much. So thank you for being here tonight. I think one thing you'll notice if you get to spend more time upstairs and out here where the food was, is that 2 of our exhibits, actually 3 of our exhibits in the museum right now really feature the stories of women in the history of St. Louis. So right outside is the exhibit of the artwork of Ana Maria Van Tull, who was a visitor to her brother's home here in St. Louis in August of 1817. And she was a painter, and she painted beautiful watercolors and pencil sketches of Creole St. Louis. And they've only been shown just a couple times. Can you believe it? You probably can't. How many of you can name 5 female artists? We didn't get taught that very much, did we? But we can all talk about the men. Ana Maria Van Tull is right here, and I hope you'll see her exhibit, read her story, buy her catalog, share it with your family and friends. And then upstairs, where you'll later be for your reception, Beyond the Ballot, is an exhibit about women as in activism in St. Louis. Women as activists? Really? Isn't that why we're all here? Isn't that why we're put on this earth, is to shake things up just a little bit? I think so. So that exhibit is about women who really agitated and advocated for more than just the vote, for public health, for the health of our communities, for kindergartens, to teach our children, for so many things. And that exhibit really talks about the role of women in shaping society here in St. Louis, and I think it's wonderful. I'm not sure if St. Louis Sound is open, but St. Louis Sound has a big focus on the women and the men who created the history of music here in St. Louis. So I'm pleased that you are here tonight. Espero verte pronto y frecuentemente here in the museum. Nuestro museo es suyo, so please come back often. We need you here, and bring your family, your friends, join us. Thank you.
And of course, we want to thank our title sponsor, Midwest Fan Center, for its continued support to our event year over year. A round of applause over tonight's MC, Ariana Marker. Ariana is a human resources specialist at Midwest Fan Center. Before joining Midwest, she was a community organizer in the non-profit stage. So thank you, enjoy, and welcome, Ariana.
Hello everyone, and thank you, Fernanda, for that wonderful introduction. I'm very excited to be here again, and we're going to be starting off with a few remarks from Natalia Correa. She is a marketing executive with over 18 years of experience helping brands connect with a multicultural audience. Today, she helps to create and execute an inclusive marketing program and develops partnerships with organizations that drive our St. Louis community forward. Let's give a round of applause to Natalia.
So first of all, I just want to say that Ariana and I, it's not like we are wearing a uniform, we didn't plan it. We have a really good sense of style. Thanks, Ariana. So it's really inspiring to be among such an assembly of women. I see a lot of diversity here in this group, so thanks to everyone for joining and for being here supporting this event. But of course, I also see a lot of Hispanic women. So what I'm going to do first is start by highlighting a couple of semi-randomly selected women from the audience, just to prove a point. One of them is Susan Gobo. Susan, where are you? There she is. Perfect. Susan, for example, moved to this country from Brazil, and as an expat, she found many obstacles to adapting to life in St. Louis. So what did she do? Well, she started the International Spouses Freedom Group that now provides a variety of services to support women from over 81 different countries to make St. Louis their home and to thrive here. I also have Gabriela Cornelius. Where are you, Gal? There she is. She sees the need to promote diversity in our city, so she co-founded the Hispanic Employees Resource Group, Mi Gente, for her employer, the Federal Reserve Bank, and she also promotes her Mexican culture through the dance group Alma de México. So thank you, Dami. She's on a mission to create the home. Dami, where are you? There she is. She's surprised. She didn't know I was going to talk about her. But she's on a mission to create the home of the Cuban sandwich in St. Louis. Now her restaurant, Alana's Cuisine, is making the best Cuban food in our city, according to my taste buds. So, all of these women are just like each of us attending this event today. They're women leading with purpose. They have found the reason for being, and they have acted on it. And that opportunity is within all of us. Because really, what is the alternative? The great writer Ralph Ellison once said, "There are a few things in the world as dangerous as sleepwalkers." Purpose, on the other hand, gives us a reason for being, an opportunity to harness our energy and use it to do things that we love, things in which we excel, and things that benefit others. Purpose is something that we talk a lot about at Midwest Van Center. In fact, it is what drives everything we do. Midwest Van Center exists to help our regional communities thrive. We create the conditions to help Main Street, marginalized, multicultural families and businesses live into their full potential through the strength of our financial services. Now, finding our personal purpose might seem like a daunting exercise at first, but it is within each of us to find, articulate, and live our purpose. We each have our why. What brings meaning to my life? Why do I exist? What motivates me? And maybe most important of all, what makes me feel like I'm making a difference in the world, but here in my St. Louis community? If we as women are lucky, our careers and our personal life and our sense of purpose will align. But if they don't, we really owe it to ourselves to do everything in our power to make sure that they do. I consider myself a privileged member of our Hispanic community. I came here 22 years ago. I had a college degree, English proficiency, and then an internship lined up. And then I came to the home of Angela and Daniel Cuevas, which I know some of you might know. And they just opened up their home to me. And then they not only allowed me to stay with them, but they were my co-signers when I first had to get a car loan and get an apartment rental. But I know that my circumstances and the ease in which I was able to integrate myself to the American system are the exception to the rule. All around me, I see other Hispanics that have very different circumstances. Their starting line is different. Let's talk about some of the facts about the wealth gap in America. According to the Federal Reserve 2019 Survey of Consumer Finances, the Hispanic community has traditionally been underrepresented as homeowners in the U.S. Now, when you consider that homeowners' median wealth was 89 times higher than that of renters, you can see the importance of homeownership in building generational wealth. Now, to prove that point even further, the typical median white family has 5 times the wealth of the typical Hispanic family. That's $184,000 versus $38,000 for the typical Hispanic family. And this brings me back to purpose. I've made it my purpose at Midwest Bank Center to make sure the Hispanic community, including Latin holders, understand that they have tools available, that there are resources to help them access capital affordably. Now, I know each of us has a different and unique journey, but I can say unequivocally that for those of us here with Hispanic heritage, we're not only proud of our Hispanic identity, but we want to help our community. Frankly, it is part of our job as leading Hispanic women in St. Louis to ensure that that happens. We can exert change and influence. We can inspire others to join us in helping the St. Louis Hispanic community thrive. Well, I look forward to hearing from Emiliana Breca, Model Villar, and Rebecca Garcia Cook, as I'm certain that personal purpose is at the center of the vitally important work that they're doing with the Hispanic community. And I'll leave you with this quote from Mark Twain. The 2 most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you figure out why. Thank you.
Aww. I would first like to introduce our first speakers of the night, Monica Del Villar and Rebecca Garcia Cook. Monica, or Mo, is the director of the St. Louis Civil Rights Enforcement Agency and geologist, and the executive coach at Green Boat. They will be doing their presentations together this evening. So let's give a round of applause.
Leading with purpose. Leading with purpose. Monica.
Hello.
Hi. I'm Rebecca. Monica, as you think of that title, Leading with Purpose, what comes to mind for you?
Well, you have to start with figuring out what your purpose is, right? The amazing quotes from Natalia, the day you're born and the day you figure out why, right? I mean, there's a lot of space between those 2 things. I think I'll start by saying, hola mi gente.
Hola.
Hello. My name is Monica. I can say that in a room full of my people. Monica Del Villar. I am the director of the Civil Rights Enforcement Agency for the city of St. Louis, which means that I work day in and day out to try to eradicate discrimination as it pertains to housing, public accommodations, and employment. As an Afro-Latina, I see a lot of my people in situations that I don't want to see them in. So I'm grateful for the opportunity provided by Mayor Jones to serve my community and all the communities across St. Louis. That's part of what I think my purpose is here today. I'll toss over to Rebecca.
I'm Rebecca Garcia Cook. I grew up on the Texas-Mexico border. I spent 5 years at St. Louis University and on South Grand, and I love St. Louis. My background's in public health because I love communities to get better. And so when I think about my purpose, I think about people, places, and situations reaching their potential. And so I did that first in public health as an epidemiologist, and you know that now. I used to have this great joke where people would say, "What do you do?" And I'd say, "I'm an epo what?" Because every time I would say, "I'm an epidemiologist," they would just say, "Epo what?" So I just start with that. But now we've had a pandemic, and you know what epidemiologists are. But what I realized is I
how can I create some change, and then what moves forward. So Monica, you said that part of your purpose is to help people have equal access. Tell me some more about that.
Yeah. For me, my father is Dominican, my mom's from Paraguay, so my parents came from countries under dictatorships. They came to the United States of America and they said, we can watch your government on the TV, or cut on C-SPAN, because we're gonna watch whatever this hearing is. And that is how it progressed for the rest of my life. There was, as a daughter of immigrants, there was an emphasis on education, but also on being an educated citizen, on being a good citizen, on making the society around you better for your people, for your community, for your state, for your country, for the world overall. So that was really instilled in me early on. I read the newspaper, I was very nerdy. Some people like tax, that is not my jam. I like watching the government, because the government is watching us, so someone has to look back. As a woman in a number of communities that are heavily surveilled, I realize this, but I also know that we haven't been allowed in the room very often. And so that's part of the reason why we get the raw end of the deal on so many things. So some of what brought me up into the position that I am now, what drove me through college, what drove me through law school is, how do I make the world better for my people? How do I write laws where my people do not have to use the loopholes? They were written for us because we were disadvantaged in them before. So how do we fix that? How do I get in the room to write that down, to fix that? My parents instilled that in me early on, and that's what has driven my purpose, I think, from a very early age.
You know, I see a room full of really incredible people, and I wonder, about the people in this room, I'm curious, what are some of your purposes? So I'm gonna walk on this side and I'm gonna ask, would you share, any of you three, what you think you were created for? Why were you born?
Peer pressure, it's pressure, and it's very interactive. Very intimate here, and I can see you all and I'm loud, so.
I think I was born to help people, really. I really care, genuinely and trustly to help people. Whatever it's the situation, either like nearly friends that I have or someone that I don't know, I really want to help people.
What's your purpose other than the camera?
Primero en español y luego en inglés. Yo vine a esta escuela tierra a elevar la conciencia y evolucionar como persona y que toda la prosperidad que me llegue a mí sea para todos. Y lo que viene uno a hacer aquí es eso. Well, I came here to elevate my consciousness, to propose unity, all the richness and happiness and prosperity that I want for me, I want for everybody. That's why I am.
Anyone over here, what do you want to be different from right now?
In the world, in St. Louis, in this lovely state of Missouri. I give you plenty of options.
I think this goes back to what you said, Mo. I don't want to just be invited to the room because of my last name, Quiroga, Anania. I want to be invited to the room and listened to and seen as a professional.
Hi, beautiful people. I said I'm cheating because I'm going to talk later. I'm Claudia Ochoa. I am part of the board of the Chamber. I'm a financial advisor. And before all that, I'm a mother, and a wife, and a daughter. And after Mother's Day yesterday, I keep thinking, we all forget about ourselves. So my purpose in life has been, up to now, long 50 years, finding my purpose. And I'm a looker, I'm a learner. So these here, yes, we all, when you're looking for your purpose through others and help others find their purpose, which is what we do every day, Annie right there and me, is connect our clients with their purpose, with their goals, with their financial goals. It's energy. We'll talk about that later. But I just truly live to connect other people with their purpose, and through that I try to find my own every day.
Some of us have a lot of passion passion without necessarily a direction to put it in. But there is, well, let me just say this up front. Rebecca made beautiful slides, and everything was spelled correctly when we turned them in. That's all I want to say. But for some reason, a couple of slides are missing a letter here and there. So I just wanted to nip that in the bud.
We did have a lot of others. I'm sometimes passionate about spelling.
So part of what I heard in your answers was there's a passion, and there's a passion for the world being different, and there's a passion for caring for people. With that, I love what you said, Claudia, because what you talked about was not just the world. It was also writing your own home with your children, with your spouse, with your neighborhood, and then what you guys started to talk about, also the government. So this socio-ecological framework, I'm a person, but I'm a person and I am interconnected with everybody here, first with my family, my neighborhood, my community, the city, the policies that come down from the government. I am a part of all of those, and so are you, and so are you. Each of you are a part of that, and you have passions in areas where you want things to be different. And as Monica talked about, she realized, hey, I can be in the room. I can be in the room, and I can help make things different. So one of the values that she articulated was she wants to be a part of the process.
Right, and we talked previously about me being a part of the process is not really about me being a part of the process. It is about being able to be able to traffic through all these different communities. As Hispanic women who come to this country, my mother didn't speak English, she speaks Spanish and Guarani when she came here. You have dual language skills, you have close-knit communities that you may have left behind in your countries. If I give my mom a little too much wine, she starts to hallucinate about wine. But she misses it. It's a beautiful place. But it is the ability to come into a new space and find your people. And for me, that has always been trafficking through those spaces, but also communicating with people in those spaces and having their voices heard. To be the translator for people, the government process is very prohibitive in its language. They speak funky. I had to go to law school to know what they were talking about. They do it on purpose. They don't want all of us to participate, but my part of being a part of the process is creating a larger we. Who is we in the room? Who do I represent? Who's standing behind me? Who would stand right next to me if they were in the room with me? It is expanding and further including people in the process that have never been invited and have never even been women. We're not in the Constitution until we got the right to vote. The word woman is nowhere, anywhere in that document. So it is creating the space for all of us to come up. If I may be the first one in the room, I better not be the last. There better be 2, 3, 12, 100 people behind me. Because my passion is expanding that space for everyone to be able to be involved and to be included in the process.
Your passion is actually coupled with your skills. Going to law school, taking that passion and those values, and then adding a skill set to it. And so whatever you've gone to school with, whatever you've studied, whatever you've honed in yourself, are the skills you use to make the passion a reality. So it's just a dream until you do something with it. And that's where your skills come in, how you use some of that energy.
I would like to give a quick shout out to a couple of folks in the back there that worked for the ACLU at the same time that I worked at the ACLU for this great state of Missouri. I used to wake up every morning, and they will tell you this, I would pep talk myself by saying, it is a beautiful day to defend democracy, because that is literally what we were doing. With shields against people's the state does crazy things, and part of the reason it does crazy things is because we're not in those rooms. We're not represented. The county with the highest percentage of Hispanics in this state, does anyone want to give me a guess? Anyone? Shout out anything. The county with the most Hispanic population. Sullivan County, 2 hours north of Jefferson City, with the meat packing plant and meat processing plant, has the most percentage of Hispanics in this state. Will they ever have a representative that is not the same old white man that has been there for 60 years? And part of the reason is some of those folks may not be documented, some of those folks may not be in the system in the way that we see it, but their kids go to school. They drive on the roads, they pay taxes, they float the rest of the state for the benefits that it is that they provide. So being able to align your energy into the spaces that you want to make the change. For me, I went to law school, I came back to this great state of ours, and I saw it was still in the same shambles it was in when I left about 20 years earlier. So, but the one thing that I did notice when I returned is an explosion in Hispanic people all over the place. I'm from Kansas City. I went back to Kansas City. There is a whole street of Hispanic, where we went growing up was Latina. There was the one store that we all went to. Me, the baseball players, the hotel folks, the restaurant folks, we were all in the same place, and now there's a whole strip of them. There are different, there's Caribbean food, there's Brazilian food, there's all kinds of things that growing up, I was just Mexican. There was no other thing for me to be because of the ignorance and lack of wanting to understand other folks, the assimilation that was forced on some of us. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to do that. Please be yourself. Please bring your whole self to the table. Please bring your skills and your passions to the table, because if you don't bring them to the table,
so just like Monica talked about, your passions are going to create a desire for something to be different, and you get to channel that into making a difference. And I love, Monica, how you talked about how you were able to create change by going to law school and taking the steps in yourself as well. When you start to recognize what it is that you want to be different, you are going to see what the steps are. And then you're able to step into those roles because you know what it is. You've got that goal in mind. It's finding your why. And that why then gives you direction and guidance. And if you keep your eye on that, this is really what I want. This is really what I want to be different. All of the energy, all of the desire can keep you moving even when times are really tough.
I think you're bringing up great points. To me, my why always tied back to my parents. Why did they come to this country? Why were they able to be successful in this country? Why could they give me a better life? Maybe. Could my life have been the same there? Have we done things to help develop their country? Because America can't be the only place in the world, right? Other places have to be great. Other places have to be where people can go. Everyone doesn't even want to be here. Let's just be honest. There are other places in the world that are beautiful, that are amazing, and we should help develop those places as well. My why has always been, why can I be an American and why can I be great here? And in other places I cannot. I just am so thankful and grateful for my parents, and I just love having this Hispanic heritage because I think that we have the best food. I think it's seasoned the best. I love that we are meat eaters.
We have great music.
We have great music. We have great culture. We have great feelings. We have great dances. If you ever go to a Hispanic party, you're going to be fed well, loved, probably given a present, probably adopted by an abuela somewhere.
You'll get all the business on your cheeks. Yeah. So when I think about my why, there was also a lot that came from my parents. My parents were very active in their communities in working to create change and make things better. But then internalizing my own why as what is it for me makes it different than my parents, because my parents are my parents. They're not me, and I'm not my parents. Monica, we talked about this a little bit. What were some of the areas where you ended up being different than your parents?
Well, I'm an American. Which means I have a loud mouth and a lot of opinions. And I was taught to stand up for myself in ways that I think maybe my mother specifically was not. growing up, you see the differences between how you would like to be a parent and the way that your parents parented you, and realize when my mother was my age, she already had 3 kids in the house and like 2 dogs, and to look back now and be able to give my mother the grace of, you did the best that you could with the information that you had, moving to a place like Kansas City before the internet, right? So before you could develop communities online and relationships with people that maybe you didn't know. This was a time when she was told, do not speak to your children in Spanish at home because they will be confused. And you know, they chose the school district that they chose because they wanted their kids to have a good education. So you're gonna listen to the people you trust to teach your children every day, right? Or you're gonna feel like there's some value in the thing that they're saying, but my mother said, no, you can push back on these things. If they say these things to you in the classroom, if they question your identity, if they say you're not smart enough, or you're only doing this because you're special, or you're different, you can tell them, well, what's the norm? Because if I'm different, then what are you? And if you're the standard, the bar is, you know what I mean? I have such a gratefulness for being raised with a strong cultural background, but also with the ability to push back and to create a new narrative. Everything is not correct in the way that I was raised. Everything is not correct in the way I raised my dog and my nieces and nephews. But I'm working on it, right? And there are differences between even a conversation today as a gay person is a different conversation than it was 10 to 15 years ago. Today as an immigrant is a different conversation than it was 10 to 15. As a woman, today is a different conversation than it was last week. So it is this constant evolving and having to lean on each other for support. Can I tell you that your state legislature has already essentially banned abortion in the state for many years? So if you think that the fight is over in the state, maybe for abortion it might be, but what they try to do is expand things to like birth control is an abortifacient, IUDs, Plan B, that's an abortifacient. We should stop those things. So when you see a room full of people that are affected by these things, know that it's still happening in your state. It's not in the abstract. They're coming for our people. They're coming for women. They're coming for immigrants. They're coming for folks with different cultural backgrounds. Why? Because we are powerful. When we come in a room, when we come together, they can't stop us. They're afraid of us. If we play by their rules, maybe we'll lose. But if we play by ours, maybe we will win. And I think that this is a time in history where, like she said, she hasn't been in a room full of women in 2 years. I haven't been in a room full of Hispanic women maybe in my whole life. And it's just not an opportunity that everyone has.
So I love how you brought up the power of community and the power of people coming together. That is actually key. In order for you to continue to move into your why, to be able to make things happen, you have to have a strong foundation. And a strong foundation is a strong foundation of the people in your life and your dog.
And my dog. My dog named Casey, because I'm from Kansas City, and I know that's fighting words in this room, but I've said it in Jefferson City, and I will say it to all of you. But as I said to the mayor, a better St. Louis is good for Missouri, and that's good for Kansas City. So, the next dog will name Louie. How about that?
One of the benefits of coming from a Hispanic background is the strong relational connections you have, both with your family, with your neighbors, with everyone who's around you. And you need to have people to support you, because you're going to hit resistance. And resistance can come both internally and it can come externally. But if you don't have the people around you to remind you, hey, we love you. We love you. You really matter, and you have an important. I love. They're hugging over here. It makes me so happy.
Having moments.
This is great.
Breakthroughs.
And by the way, failure was a really pretty.
It was a nice little script font. Really worked on it for a whole afternoon.
That's okay. Sometimes we experience failure. So, Monica, what's the internal
internal or external resistance you've experienced?
Well, let's see. All of y'all grew up with Hispanic mothers or fathers, right? And
The jungle.
typically, there comes a time where you have different interests, be that video games or music or friends or activities. I grew up with all brothers, so I was into sports, but I couldn't be too much of a tomboy. You know what I mean? You can't be you gotta be a little ladylike. Make sure you wear your dresses, put your ears on like your neck's too long. You gotta do things that bring you out into the world and present you properly. But some of that can internalize. Like, I am 30-something, I don't have children, I'm not married, and my mother asks me all the time for children. My sister-in-law asks me all the time for little baby cousins for them. And that is something I grew up as an expectation of me. I would have children. Again, my mother by this age had 3 kids, had 2 dogs, had a house, had a life that she deemed successful, and I think that it was successful, but me, success is whatever it is that you want it to be. It doesn't have to be on those paths that have been laid out for us in society. Things like that draft decision last week changed that reality for women, the ability to choose when we want to make families, who we want to be with, even a divorce. Divorce in the Catholic culture has been, this is new, for women to leave their husbands and start a new life with their children or what it is that they see, to start a new career at 40, at 50, at 60. These internal resistances to what it is that the world perceives you as, what it is that you're supposed to present yourself in the world as, what is respectable when you step out into the space. Do you internalize that and stop yourself? And does that turn into an external block where you have imposter syndrome? Let me tell you, I have sat in many a cabinet meeting for the mayor and saying, I'm not sure that I'm supposed to be the one here. I don't know what's going on, maybe, in the streets. I can't picture potholes. I don't have those abilities, but when it comes to what I can do, I can stand up in those. I can have strength in that. And I can ask questions. I don't know the answer to that. Please help me. So preventing that block from stopping you overall at the end of the day, even though there is resistance, we have different things that we have to go through. We have different seasons of success and of failure. And that doesn't make you a failure if you're in the middle of your failure season. The spring will come. Successes will follow you.
And so defining your success, recognizing that it's not just, hey, I completely changed the world. The whole world is different than what I want. But being able to step back and say, there's a process to this change, and I took this step. I moved forward in this way, and that step is a success. And that's part of you learning to define your success, but also recognizing you are making the progress towards the different world that you want to have. But again, that energy and that passion gives you this sense of urgency so that you keep moving and you have a vision for where you are going. And that drive moves you forward, propels you, pushes you, drives you, moves you. Do it.
What's stopping you? Is there something that is stopping you from sitting in this room right now and that you could sit there and say, well, I don't have this degree. I don't have this certificate. I don't have this experience. But what do you have? You have value sitting in the chair that you have right now. You have value when you sit at those tables that you haven't been invited at. Your value is just to be there. Your value is your perspective. Your value is that no one has ever sat in that space and told those people that story. Told them what it's like to come across the ocean or to come on a plane and to leave your family behind or start a new one here. You have value sitting in the chair that you have right now. You may have goals. You may have things that you want to achieve. But you can achieve some of those things right now, sitting with all the skills that you have in front of you. So do it.
And your perspective is incredibly valuable because, just like she said, nobody else brings what you bring. And so when you're sitting in a meeting or in a community group or with your family thinking, someone should say that someone is you. That someone is you. And so I encourage you to have the courage to speak up, to take that step, and to be a part of the conversation be a part of making the world different, because that energy and passion in you matters. You matter. You matter. You matter in your family. You matter in your community. You matter in St. Louis and in Missouri and in the United States and todo el mundo.
You matter to me for being in this room and participating in this activity with all of us. And again, just being in a room full of women, A, full of Latina women, B. Enjoy the space while you're in it. We don't get this every day. We don't get this in the middle of a play. We may not get this again. How inspiring to be in a room full of women who have done things that I can't even imagine, who have overcome struggles to be successful and be here with us today. Thank you for being here.
Bueno, pues estamos mujeres reunidas porque juntas somos medicina. Nada más que se nos ha olvidado. Imagínate, a ver amiga, tú que me estás viendo, ¿te acuerdas cuando tenías tu periodo? Bueno, ellas todavía lo tienen, ¿verdad? ¿Te acuerdas que hasta te sincronizabas con tus amigas? O sea, de ese tamaño las mujeres nos juntamos, nos unimos. ¿Qué pasa cuando tienes un problema? ¿A quién le llamas?
A las amigas.
A las amigas.
Por supuesto.
Vas con tus amigas, la gente en la que tú confías, y generalmente es alguien que te va a entender, alguien de tu sexo, alguien que sabe quién eres para apapacharte, para que no estés triste, ¿no? Entonces, juntas realmente somos medicina, y me encanta que la Cámara de Comercio Hispana esté haciendo este tipo de eventos de diversidad, y sobre todo que tomen en cuenta el poder que tenemos la comunidad latina. Las latinas tenemos una gran ventaja, porque aparte de que hablamos inglés, hablamos español, ¿verdad? Entonces, primero es la visión y después es la acción, ¿verdad? Primero lo pienso y digo, ok, quiero ir para allá.
Y luego lo hago.
Y luego lo hago. ¿Y qué pasa con el universo? Que el universo dice, ok, porque al universo se le ordena. No se le reza y dice, ay, por favor que me... No, tú le das órdenes al universo. Por eso es muy importante que tomes conciencia de lo que hablas, de lo que dices, de tu palabra. Porque tú generas realidad a través de la palabra. Creer es crear, ¿verdad? ¡Ay, estoy gorda! Y adivina qué, el genio de la lámpara mágica que está allá arriba dice, ¡ah, ¿quieres estar gorda? Bueno, ¡ting! Concedido, estás gorda. No sigamos boicoteando con la palabra. ¿Tú qué opinas?
Opino exactamente lo mismo.
Por eso, cada vez que me dicen, ¡ay, me quiero morir! No digas, cancela. Porque la palabra
Tiene poder.
tiene poder, así como ella, como tú, como yo, nuestra palabra es importante. Entonces, es bien importante que este tipo de eventos y que nos sigamos juntando. Lunas llenas, lunas nuevas, se juntaban anteriormente y lo siguen haciendo nativos americanos, las mujeres incas y las indígenas mayas, de diferentes, ¿cómo se llaman las de Colombia?
Los quimbayas.
Los quimbayas, todos. Bueno, ese conocimiento ancestral deberíamos de retomarlo, amar la tierra, procurarla. La tierra, mujer, da vida, ¿no? O sea, hasta la tierra es femenino. ¿Por qué? Porque da vida. Y el sol, pues puede ser masculino, porque gracias al sol, pues interviene que empiecen a crecer las flores, las plantas. Nos necesitamos unos a otros, hombres y mujeres. Tenemos que honrar el divino femenino, igual que el divino masculino, porque somos complementarios. Bueno, vamos a seguir con esta bonita experiencia. ¿Algo que quieran compartir a nuestros amigos de Red Latina?
Muchas gracias por ver nuestro en vivo. Esperamos que
vean todas las historias. Síganos
en las redes sociales de Instagram,
Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn,
Snapchat,
YouTube.
I don't believe that human beings are illegal. You maybe got documented, but you're not illegal. So I attended Paul, and there is no scholarship for me, as I am undocumented. There is no Pell Grant. There is nothing that can help me. And we live in dire poverty. But I was accepted. and there was no way I was not going to attend. So I waited tables, worked night shifts. Someone mentioned earlier about the meat packing plants here. We worked here on the weekends. And then in Chicago, for maybe 25 cents more. So when I tell you that I attended the poll on cash, waiting tables, because I paid for my college education in cash. But it was also really cold in Chicago. Really cold. You know this. My second year, I decided that I was going to move to California. And I applied for a transfer to UCLA. And I'm going to age myself. There was no internet. So I applied to UCLA and I received a letter that stated that they were no longer taking out-of-state students. Being the first of many things, I didn't know what that meant. But I called Pauline and I said, "Are you taking in-state students?" She said yes. Friday afternoon, I got in my car with my cat and I drove to Los Angeles. I was there on a Monday, waiting for Pauline. Yes, I was talking to her. I had my letter. I had asked Mom if they let me in, can I stay? I was moving out without getting married, and I would live in my car. Si, mijita. She gave me $20 for gas. Imagine. That was a lot of help, though. So I drove out. UCLA let me know that that's not the way the system worked. Having attended college, I did not know that they meant in-state residents. I argued for 8 hours, and in between went and fed my cat in the car, windows down. I started the semester because I was not going to call my mom back and say that I was dropping out of college, because that was not an option for me. So what I did do is I walked around the corner to a cafe and applied to wait tables. I knew how to do that. I waited tables for the restaurant throughout the last 2 years. And when I finished, I purchased the restaurant. I then grew it into a national chain of diners. And then I decided that my purpose was to have more women-owned restaurants. So every chain that I opened had a co-partner in a woman. Because that was the only way that I was going to see more leadership. Because the restaurant industry, who's worked in the restaurant industry? Who leads? Men. Not for long. Not for long. It's a very male-dominated industry. But I didn't want to work in the service industry. I went to school for mass media communications. I could build campaigns, advertising campaigns without social media. I could get millions of people to buy a product, and I specifically targeted Latino communities. And someone said, "Is it that you translated?" No, it is that we elevated products for Latino community. Yes. We forced folks to see that the Latino buyer was a powerful buyer. And that is where I moved outside of restaurants. With my degree in mass media communication, I decided to start an event production company. Have you ever heard of a little festival called Coachella? Yes. I helped organize that in my 20s. I was also one of the first Latinas to ask them to bring in Latino artists. That's money and it's power. So whenever you think that you as a Latina do not have power, I need you to sit up straight and know that we're all with you. You have power. Latinas have body power. Latinas have culture. We've got roots. Never mind, we're gorgeous. work? What do you do? Because when someone asks you, what do you do? They're eyeing you up and down to see if you shop at Marshalls, which I do. So I'm saving up for more businesses. But realistically, I am a first-generation Latina, and when my dad once was asked to assimilate, my dad wore a big cowboy hat, he still does, big buckle. And when someone asked him to assimilate, he said, what? I've got culture, I've got roots, I've got family, and I've got really good food. Assimilate to what? So be proud that you are Latina, always, is something that my parents have always taught me. I wish I knew that you waxed the eyebrow earlier. That was a non-starter.
Como Frida Kahlo.
Like, Mom, I totally look Latina at a school where I'm the only Latina. Then they better watch it when you come into the room. Is what she said to my mom's poor son. Powerful. But I tell you all of this because I grew up with a sense of knowing that as a Latina I have power. And as women, we have power. We've just been invisibilized. We've been invisible for too long, and we keep thinking that we are here for service. We are here to lead. That is our purpose. When women lead, we elevate the world.
Mm-hmm.
When women lead, we elevate the world. Think of how different a female boss works. How many of you have worked for a female? Woo, you're lucky. Yes, I can tell you that I had not worked for a female boss even as I opened my company, because women in leadership are rare. And Latina women in leadership are even more rare. So we need to make sure that you are prepared, that you are ready to lead, and that there are a lot of paths to this, that it's not just an education, it's not just serving, it is owning a business. It is taking that next step into leadership and truly preparing yourself. I haphazardly have switched careers 3 times in my life. Just recently in 2016. Yes, in my 40s. I'm not going to say how old 40s. But yes, in my 40s. I was running my event production company and I was organizing concerts across the country when I saw what was going on with the election. And it scared me. It scared me to think that it was okay to denigrate immigrants. It scared me to think that it was okay to denigrate folks with disabilities. And it scared me to think that women were not counted, that women did not count during that election, that the most qualified person was not elected on the basis of sex. That should scare all of us. So I decided to organize this little thing out of Los Angeles called Women's March. But right before that, I knew that I needed to do more. So I started a foundation, in Women's March Foundation, even before we marched. Because what I did not want to lose was that power that women were gaining. Because when I received those emails of how can I help, what can I do, thousands of them were women. And half of them were Latina. But what was surprising to me was that, and this pains me, the Latina women that emailed me didn't think that they had something to offer. They thought someone else should be leading them. But when we step back, we've got a lot to offer. And I challenge you to say and to think out loud, I am powerful. 1, 2, 3. I
I am powerful.
Now are you going to stand up straight? Lift your crown. Ah, I see it. 1, 2, 3. I am powerful. And this is what I asked every woman to say. Think of that superpower you have because you've always been powerful. And don't let anyone tell you that you're not good enough. You are enough. You want to know what Latina women did? Latina women organized a march in Los Angeles with over 1 billion people. It was Latina women. It was the most diverse march. Why? Because Latinas are intercultural. And we don't go anywhere alone. Think about it. Yes. So I challenged everyone that emailed me that thought that they did not have a power, that they did not have a skill set, to find one skill set. I had a woman by the name of Ludovina. She actually saved my book. Ludovina said, I'm a mother of 8 kids. What could I possibly offer at Women's March? Bring your 8 kids. And they will let you know what your power is. She came out with a taco stand, no joke, ended up feeding the A-listers, where Bono from YouTube put her on Instagram as the best tacos he ever had. She currently has a food truck. She has a superpower. Yes! She has a superpower, but was not ready to recognize it. And her daughter, Aurora, said, Mom, there's no one here that cooks the way you do. Mom, I'll help you. So our daughters are helping us, we're helping our parents. Right? So when I tell you that I'm the first one to go to university and graduate, there is no one after me, including grandchildren, that have not started university. None. And my mother is a grandmother who started 2 grandparents. Yes. I only have 2. But in all honesty, and I have 2 sisters that just say they don't want children, but in all honesty, when we lift up women, when we lift up our communities and our culture, then we lift up other generations. Yes. The intergenerational thing has to be critical for us. Must be critical. I mean, the fact that my mom had 13 kids, no one ever thought that we would make it. Do you know why we made it? Because we had a powerful 4'7" mom. Who, yes, she was chancla. Absolutely. 4'7", and she walked into a room and she commanded a room. I had a mom, and still have a mom, that does not speak enough English, because she would attend city council meetings, and she refused to believe that where we live should look like a prison. She refused to believe that city council folks were not accountable. And any first generation translators here? Yes, dile, mija. Dile es un estúpido. Absolutely. She said a bad word. But I grew up in a place and a time that no one should go through, that no immigrant, no citizen should go through, because it was traumatic. Growing up in poverty is traumatic. Yeah. But I'm here to tell you that you have the power, and your purpose may be different from mine. It may be different from someone else's. But once you put words to your purpose, we will all support you. We will all be ready. I mean, calling my mom and telling her that I was marrying a Jewish man. She says, ¿qué? ¿Qué te pasa? I was the first one to not marry Latino. I'm still working on that. But realistically, everyone else will surround you and support you. Don't let anyone tell you that having everything is not attainable. That we can't have everything we want. You want to know how I know we can? Because men do. There is no one out there asking a man how they balance work life. So the next time somebody asks you how do you balance work life, the same way my husband does. He does half. And that is truly to grow into your power. We've always been powerful. We've been invisibilized. Or we've been an assistant to our husband's careers or our partner's careers. And when you are ready, it is time. In my 40s, I switched career. I am now running Women's March Foundation, a nonprofit. Yes, and in our family, no one would have ever thought this, especially my mother. Yes, we elected a daughter of immigrants in Kamala Harris. A daughter of immigrants. Yes. So we are valuable. We are valued. And you want to know of another immigrant that ended up being her surrogate speaking to Latino audiences? Because we must be represented. And we must represent Latina women other than the service industry. It has to be in business, in politics, at ACLU, as coaches, as leaders. So I urge you to, if you have not thought of, well, what is my purpose? I promise you that you have. You've just not written it down. You've not made the goals clear, right? You start small. You can really start small. I mean, for me, those college applications, whoa. When they asked the income, I said, Dad, how much do you make a year? A year? And they give you $3.35 an hour. And my mom made $3.10. So when I tell you that it's possible, it's possible. And it may look different for you than it does for someone else. But as a Latina, it is your duty to lead. To lead yourself into a better life. I firmly believe that my parents have done the tough work already. That they managed to bring us out. Try figuring out housing for us. Try figuring out, right? Currently, more than 80% of my relatives are homeowners. That's generational wealth. Yes. That is generational wealth. So when you think of your purpose, truly think of what is your legacy. And my legacy should be not to be happy. I am going to take my shirt off, and don't laugh, I have not shaved my armpits. Keep it real, Amy. Keep it real. I truly want you to look at attainable goals. And although it may seem like this huge thing, and don't be afraid as a Latina to say, I want money. I know that's right. I want equity. Yes. When you tell me you want to serve, tell me that you want to get paid to serve in those leadership positions. I had no idea that the nonprofit complex is full of women, because I really knew a nonprofit. And I asked for salaries. What should we pay our nonprofit professionals? What? Pay them. Don't be afraid to truly say, in order to be comfortable, I must make X. Why? Because I have goals. I have goals. During the pandemic, women were hit the hardest. Women had to take care of children, home, possibly work, and figure out layoffs in their households. I personally lost 10 female employees. Why? I had to take care of the house and the kids. I have yet to lose a male employee for taking care of the house and the kids. Yet. So balancing that out truly I'm about to start a master's degree in public policy. This is what the kids' schedule looks like. What side would you like to hem? Because it starts in our home 50-50. Did you also know that in the work environment, women, us, including myself, commit to doing more of the planning or more of the things at the office that do not get you a raise? Stop that. Stop that. Don't ask that you're going to bring potluck. See what the men are going to bring for potluck. Honestly, I have a very diverse group of employees, and it is women that commit their time, more free time, or get asked to volunteer. How many of you have volunteered for PTA? Yep. Is the PTA your purpose? No. You know what we do? You forward that email to your partner. I'm really being honest, as I had an email come to me from the school and ask how many hours could I volunteer for the PTA. And I looked at the email list and I said, there are no men included in this list. Can you please forward this to all the men so we can figure out what they are partnering on? I got deleted from the email list. My purpose has always been about elevating women, about making sure that we are leading and that we are getting to equity. Because equity, money, is power. And we're afraid to say, my purpose is to be rich. My purpose is to buy the biggest home. My purpose is to make sure that my kids have an education. My purpose may be to wear all clothes from Bloomingdale's. But don't be afraid of leading with your purpose. My purpose truly has always been to elevate women. From my oldest sister, who started attending university when her kids went off to college because she didn't have an education. Right? And saying, I will help you with the applications. My purpose of bringing my niece to my home for a year because she did not get a scholarship and she could go to community school for free in California. Bringing her in for those 2 years. So truly, when you lead with purpose from your business to your home, and you look at elevating women, you elevate yourself, and you elevate the world. And as Latina women, we're ready for it. We are ready. We have the power. So I'm inviting you to step into your power. Just like that. I'm inviting you to be honest about what you want to do. And again, your purpose may look different from someone else's, but you deserve to say you are enough, your purpose is enough, and you are powerful.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to thank you for listening. I want to also thank Tiona and those that invited me. Oh my goodness, Fernanda, Sydney, Tiona. The invitation that came was, will you join us in St. Louis? I currently live in Los Angeles. Absolutely. I will join you each and every time. And if you have not joined a chamber, please do. My first meeting at a chamber of commerce was all men. And I was the only Latina, and I spilled coffee all over my shirt, trying to sit there and listen to their talk on why join the chamber. And when I looked around, I said, why don't we have more women? I don't know. This is exactly what we said. Right? And I made it my purpose to make sure that I join women, to make sure that I elevate women, and that we continue to be proud of being Latinas. Thank you.
History Museum for donating this space, and also also to Great Eagle for donating the beer for the event this evening. So we'll have someone from the HCC staff come around with the microphone. If you have questions, please raise your hands.
Thank you, Sydney. I also want to recognize that I have a new assistant, and lately she's even sent me to the wrong state. If it wasn't for you, Sydney, I would be in the wrong place.
Y'all are so brilliant. You really don't have one thought, but you have a question mark at the end of it.
Oh, over there.
I'm in a little bit of the way.
I think it's on. Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Chloe.
Hi, Chloe.
Hi there. It's a pleasure to meet you all.
Thank you for still wearing your mask.
Oh,
I support you.
thank you. It's not easy when it's
I
hot.
know.
I wanted to ask, like so many of the women and men that come before us, I think about African Americans, and I think about the great migration of those who stayed, those who left. I think of immigrants, of those who stayed, those who left, and I think about us, about those who stayed in St. Louis and those who left. And I wanted to ask you two particularly, and you were from Chicago and you left to go to LA. Why did you stay? Why are you staying? Because you're not past. And why did you leave? And what makes it that you stay or you leave, whether it's being more progressive or less progressive, family?
Many of the histories of my families are disjointed. There's only so far I can go back on my father's side. There's only so much I can read in my mother's country. There's only so much I can know. But I am from Missouri, and a thing that my little brother taught me is, it took a while to like enjoy myself and to like be in this space and be like, I'm not weird, like I'm fine, and maybe you're weird, or maybe we're all weird, and so that's also fine. And he taught me, you will never make me feel uncomfortable in a place that's mine. And if you don't think it's mine, that's on you. But this is my state, and my family lives here, and it's important for me for this to be better. For this to be better than what I had, for my nephew to have a better experience, for my nieces to have a better experience. I want it to be better. The state sucks, but it's mine.
So my story of movement started on the Texas-Mexico border, and from there I went to Germany as an exchange student, and then back to Austin. And it was interesting to move away from the border. First to Germany, where I thought, oh, well, of course this is different because it's a different country. And then I moved to Austin and I went, this is really different. Is this a different country too? So from there, I moved to St. Louis, which was also incredibly different. And tell you what, as soon as I moved to St. Louis, I found Cherokee Street, and I went and I had some tacos and I had some noodle. And so I needed to have that connection. I needed to have that connection back to my own roots. From here, it moved back to Texas, and we moved close to my husband's family. And then I also had family that was close. And being able to have family was precious, but also my next door neighbors, we call them our bugs. They were the backup grandparents. And so forming relationships with people was a key part of being in a new place. And so now we're in Kansas City. Sometimes I say, a western suburb of St. Louis, Kansas City. I don't have a place where I can get my mineral. It's very important to me. And a place to get piñatas for my kids. But a movement, but also making that place my home. When I was in St. Louis, I would run into Arbor Park because it was a block and a half from my house. It was mine. The Missouri Botanic Gardens. Every Saturday and every Wednesday I was there. And it was mine. It was mine. And when I'm in Kansas City, I have another park that I go to every day, and it's mine. And so planted developing roots in the place that I'm at is very important.
I'd like to share this little nugget. Something that I was told by one of my professors, and it really stuck with me because I've been to Memphis, I've been to Atlanta, tried moving, and I always find my way back home. So one thing that someone told me was don't dig wider, dig deeper. And that's how we find your purpose. So that's what's stuck with me.
That I belong. And I thought I was going to find in Los Angeles that I would belong. And I talked earlier about California has 49% Latinas, and I thought I would, yes, go to the Mecca. I was the one person in my entire class at UCLA. So I thought, I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to find my place, but I also had this incredible mom that said, you belong where you say you belong. And I take that to heart. I moved to New York. I currently still own a home in Chicago. And I felt for 4 years that I belonged in New York. So I'm back in Los Angeles, and I think that belonging instead of fitting in is key. So finding that place where you belong feels different than fitting in.
Hi, my name is Daniela, and I am from Missouri as well, so sometimes I call myself a Missourican, a Missouri-Kenya. But one of the things, and it's a similar question, but can you each talk about what it's like to navigate the cultural nuances, right? Code switching, you all are you've had different experiences, and most of us live in, we work in places where we're not the majority culture, and even in the Latina area, like, how many Puerto Ricans can I get? All right, got some. But just what it's been like for you, and maybe some tips if you have some on just being yourself or bringing your culture with you wherever you go.
I can start, and then I think for me, even Los Angeles, we talked earlier, we have the whole Latinx, Latina, Latin, Hispanic. I have one of my sisters told me, don't you dare come with that Latinx. Right? But I have a 12-year-old that identifies as Latinx, because that's his way of telling us that he is young Latino. That's his way of saying, I want to be identified as young and not Hispanic. And, explaining to them what the difference is has been interesting because, they go to a school where they are the only Latino. And so making sure that they realize that they may be called Hispanic, that they truly think you are Latino and that they come with the words Hispanic. So I think more than anything, the code switching, for me, I don't code switch. I just don't. And part of it is, again, growing up with the strong mom is that this is your identity. When you walk into a room, you're going to be Latina. So you can try to pretend that you're something else. You're Latina, and she would take it further. You're Mexicana. And she has not been wrong about that.
My code switching. Well, I'm a part of every community because I'm so blessed. And it truly is a blessing, and I feel wonderful in that. But, for example, I went to law school at Howard University School of Law. And I would beg my brothers to come visit me because I would say, when in your entire life in the state of Missouri have you ever been in a room full of brilliant Black people? They've allowed us to just be in a space together and exist. No code switching, but familiarity, a welcoming feeling, a step that you can go beyond the, oh, what are you? And more of a, oh, we're from the the code switching for me is, in work, and I have to sometimes. I have to hide my tattoos and my piercings and be on my P's and Q's and convince people that often would like to strip my rights away yesterday, that we deserve them and then some more. There's a certain level of professionalism, obviously, that you have to bring into those spaces, but if you think I'm not exactly like this, standing in front of every single one of the Republicans, and still getting the things that you want, because again, I think that your value comes from you. Your value comes from you stepping up to the table, coming up to bat, and taking the swing. Whether you miss or whether you hit it, you're there. And whatever language you need to use in order to get that done is the language that you have to use, because a lot of what we've had to do in our language is survival. It's not just conversing with other folks, it is surviving to get through to the next day. And however that has manifested in your life, take pride in the fact that if you speak Spanish and English, you speak a whole nother language than most of the country does. Yep. You are more you can speak. I beg my nephew to learn Spanish. So I'm like, Tavo, you don't want to speak to everyone in the world? You know how you can speak to everyone in America? But what if you could speak to like everyone else also? Wouldn't you want to do that since you talk all day long? And now he wants to learn Spanish. For me, that code switching is, I can speak to everyone in the room, and everyone can understand me exactly what I mean and not misinterpreting. And if I have to say, you betcha to this guy and bet to these folks, I'm still saying the same thing. But everyone's just on the same page.
So I grew up on the Texas-Mexico border. From my front porch, you can see the flag waving in Mexico. In addition, my parents were very involved with Rotary, and so we had Rotary exchange students in our home from a very early age. So I grew up with this very cross-cultural environment. As a kid, we traveled internationally. I traveled internationally from a very early age. I did my exchange in Germany. And in Germany, there were lots of exchange students that Germany hosted. So it brought people from many, many cultures together. So I hear the word code switching, and I wonder, I understand the word code switching, but I also understand that there are so many different cultures and so many different ways that people do things. And when I connect with someone, part of that is because I'm able to mirror what they are experiencing. And as people, we have mirror neurons in our brain. And it first starts with a baby and an infant when they connect with their parents. They start to reflect, and they start to do everything that the parent does. And then as we grow, we do that as well. When you come into a new setting, there's a code switch, and oh, hey, my mirror neurons are telling me that this is what I should be doing, and you start doing it. But everybody in the whole world is also doing it. And it's not always a bad thing, because we're bringing our background, the things that we value, the things that we treasure, those things are coming with us. And so they're not saying, hey, everyone here has to do it my way, but to also say, holy cow, you are so cool in what you do. Going to one of my best friend's wedding, she's from Tanzania, and at the end, they have a grito. Kind of similar to ours, but it's completely different. And I'll tell you what, I yell too, and they roll their grito different than the Mexican grito. But it was so powerful. It was so powerful to be caught up in that joy. So, yes, when I'm with people, I do change. I don't change my end at the core. That is always there. But I also get to participate in these other cultures, because this world is so incredible. And the people are so incredible. Even in this room with the various latinas, we are so different. Our countries are so different. Our backgrounds are so different, but we can still come together.
I'm starting my career at 40 years old, switching. I was an attorney in my country. And my question is, you have the insight because you are first Latinas here, and I want to know which advice would you have given your immigrant mom that started her life here again? What would you have advised her that help you, you know, to have a better life or a better insight? Because sometimes I feel like my personal trauma of restarting my life here would give them a trauma for them. You know, like I lose everything before I give you something, and I don't want her to have that. I want her to be like the best. Could you give me some good advice?
I think you're amazing. You are so great. You are amazing, and you are courageous, and you are brave, and you are doing a crazy hard thing. And when you hit these obstacles and these hard things, it's because they're hard. It's not because you came here when you're 40. It's not because you don't know what you're doing. It's because it's hard. And the amount of courage you have, the amount that you're sacrificing each and every day is tremendous. And don't forget that. You're very strong. You're very, very powerful. And I can't wait to see what you become.
I would say to start, to do it. My mom in her late 40s started selling Tupperware and then married Kay. And you know what she does right now? She's going to school to be a beautician. And I remember the haircuts she gave us. She was actually good. No, she was actually good. But realistically, she knew all along that this is what she wanted to do. And she was filling her time with other things in the hopes that we would go off and do our thing and holding herself back. So I would say to start. Your daughter, you have a daughter, is going to be 3. You have to do it for yourself. Because you're going to see how strong you are, and that's what they want to become. Sin miedo. Sin miedo.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I'm not a mother. But I sometimes think I sometimes have to force my mother to go take care of herself. Mommy, stop cooking or do whatever you're doing. Like, go get your nails done. Go get a massage. Go take care of you. And I think I would have told her that earlier in life. Now, this whole self-care thing is new. This whole wave of, and I hope that we've all jumped on that bandwagon. If not, everyone schedule your manicures and massages tonight, please, for this weekend. You deserve every single one of you. But I sometimes said, Mommy, if I wasn't here, what would you do? What would you have done? Because you wanted to do stuff before I existed. Do you still want to do that? Maybe you can do that. So to take care of herself, to find who that is, because when you can have that strength within yourself, you can pass even more on to your children. I don't think a woman's worth is based on the pain that she can endure. I think it is based on the joy that we can pass on to those around us, and especially our children. So
it's hard to follow. I would like to start with one thing. Yes, thank you too. As board member, part of the chamber, proud member of the chamber. The chamber has been my community since I got here. Number one, thank you to the incredible women that put this together. So thank you. Thank you, Midwest Grant, wonderful women who are sponsoring. Thank you so very much. And I'm just closing with some remarks, trying to just have my personal moment here and say, here, this is what I heard. In the middle of the pandemic, right, most of us were struggling a little. And it was tough, and we were there, what's my purpose? Why do I get up today and put pants on? Nobody's gonna see me. If they see me, I'll see me from here on. Right? Do I got makeup? Do I take a shower? They won't smell me. Confessions. I went and looked up how to find your purpose. What's my purpose? How am I gonna get up today? And deeply in my heart, you know, I was pretty depressed, I think. I just didn't see it at that moment. So I went and did then. UCLA, well, here, up there, Berkeley. When I looked up, there's this really good resource of stuff. Library, how to find your purpose. Instructions. Read. Reading, because it connects us. Connects the past and the present. Connects ideas. Time, space. We're here, right? 2. On your hurt, transform it. Transform the hurt into healing for others. This wonderful woman, right? All these women, what have they done? You cannot go to school? I'm going to transfer that hurt. If I cannot do that too, I'm going to do that. And not only for me, for every single one, right? I mean, yeah, there's a march. Monica, I want them to hear this my statement. Every single one connected their hurt, transformed to others. Be grateful. Be grateful, right? You probably have read. It's the same amount of dopamine you create from worrying than to be grateful. Be grateful. Remember. Cultivate awe. Some people go to church, say thanks to God. There's more about, there's bigger things than us, right? We're little, but we're powerful. We're connected to the source. Listen to what others have to say that you are good at and that they appreciate about you. It took me 50 years to stop and listen and say, oh, people thank me to connect people, to introduce people, and they go, thank you so much for. I changed careers after 40 years. I came here, changed careers, started from scratch. I've never been so successful, not only from energy and money. It's okay to have money. I'm a financial advisor, so if you need anything. But truly, why? Why am I a financial advisor? Because energy, for me, it's not money. Money is energy. Energy that you need to do the things you want to do. The things you have to do. Right? How does that flow? I learned the power to understand it and want to pass it on. Energy, the financial system, investing in the US, is a language that is not taught to females and is not taught to minorities. I want every single one of us to know that. Why did I come here? That's my purpose. People thank me. I don't know what I would have done, Claudia, without you teaching me how to do this. I can put makeup on, I can take a shower. And with that, I found myself. So that was number 6. Find yourself. Start a virtuous cycle, right? Tell your story. Share that with others. By finding yourself, find your community, and you build it. You build it stronger. So please, join us. Join the chamber. This is our home. And if you're not a member, please join. And with that, just very basic. All of you are invited. Part of the chamber or not. Our next meeting is Business After Hours, May 19th. Next Thursday, please join us. Who wants to learn to play golf? I'm terrible.
Pues hemos dado por terminado Leading with Purpose, liderar con un propósito, Hispanic Working Women Event. Qué bonito, muchas felicidades Cámara de Comercio. Que nos sigan en qué redes sociales.
Red Latina STL. Las que tosían.
¿Les gustó?
Magnífico. Genial.
¿Ya ves? Bueno, nos vemos y muchas gracias por estar aquí conectados con nosotros. Cecilia Velázquez para Red Latina. Gracias.